Women are projected to control trillions of dollars in wealth over the next decade. And yet, most financial firms still don't fully understand how to attract, serve, and retain their female clients. This is important for you to know whether or not you view women as your target ideal client. Today's guest is Dr. Barb Provost, founder of Purse Strings and host of Women and Money, the Shit We Don't Talk About. Through Purse Strings, she's built a platform that supports both women consumers and the financial professionals who desire to serve women better. In this episode, we talk about the coming wealth transfer, how financial professionals can become Purse Strings approved and get listed on her site, hint, hint, and why creating educational content for both your referral partners and your ideal clients is such a powerful strategy. Dr. Barb also shares how simple and sustainable her own podcast production process really is, which is proof that you do not need a giant production setup to build authority and trust online. You're listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. I'm Virginia Elder, founder of Podcast Abundance. Here, we explore how a well-built podcast can deepen trust, strengthen referral confidence, and support better business conversations. My free script starter kit will help you go from scattered, passionate blurbs to organized, concise episodes that flow. It even includes a few tips on using AI to help craft segments that really sound like you instead of a robot. Get your free script starter kit today at podcastabundance.com/script starter kit. Dr. Barb, thank you so much for being here with me today.
My pleasure. I love talking about purse strings.
Yes, please do share, in case someone does not know, what Purse Strings is and how to get involved, because I know the folks listening need to.
Sure. So Purse Strings, we say it's kind of like an Angie's List for financial professionals for women. So at Purse Strings, and this is all based on lots of research, focus groups, talking to thousands and thousands of women, we give women free online tools, resources, information, knowledge, skill, and access to a vetted directory of financial professionals who focus on serving the women's market. And the reason for this is because women were so overlooked and almost shunned by the financial community. And we know that the community was built by men for men to sell to men, but our demographics have greatly changed. We see more women buying their own homes, climbing the corporate ladder, running for politics, out-earning their male spouses. And so women, as we say, are going to hold the purse strings of America. Yet they're really not being served by the financial industry in the way that they want and need. So we're filling that gap. We are educating and amplifying those financial professionals who really know how to focus on serving the women's market.
Amazing. Okay, so if someone's listening and they're thinking, gosh, like I would love to serve more women, or like all my marketing is totally targeted toward women. Like I got this. Maybe they don't, right? And so you have a resource to help us all adjust our language, learn more about the needs of women. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that really struck me.
I will tell you that as I was building Purse Strings, I was called by the World Bank to work with them on building content to help financial professionals serve women in India and Nigeria, which is so weird because I was building this content already for my work at Purse Strings. And it just solidified for me that this is really a worldwide problem, that the women's market worldwide have been really overlooked. So I did go to Washington, D.C., worked with a team there, and we created content and education that they then implemented in those countries so that those male financial advisors could go and speak to women and get them engaged, specifically women business owners. And their results were amazing. After a 3-year study, one organization increased its sales by 52%. Isn't that crazy? So the cool thing is that I did complete that education for those of us here in the United States. It's called Reach, Engage, and Earn the Female Dollar. And what we do is we really look at the power of this market, why it's so valuable, why it's so overlooked, and really look at those businesses that are doing really well with the women's market and leverage some of their experiences. And then each financial professional does an assessment of their own business practices to see where are they really hitting the market with serving women well, and where are the gaps, and how can they fill those gaps with the right tools and resources or information. And we focus a lot on the divorce conversation that comes up. I'm getting a divorce, which is 70 to 80% of women will leave their financial professional in the first year of getting divorced. Widowhood. Many don't realize that the average age of a widow is 59. And as the population ages, we're going to see a lot more widows. How do you manage that relationship? During we take you through the first year of managing that whole relationship. We talk about caregiving, which is a woman's issue and a financial issue. So there are a lot of these times where women are navigating very difficult transitions in their lives. And a lot of the foundation of those are financial. So by the end of this workshop, which only takes place over a month, the commitment is just 2 hours a week. They have all the tools and resources they need to really equip themselves with the right tools, resources, even standard operating procedures. One gentleman said, boy, I focus on widows. I've totally redone my business practices because there was so much I was getting wrong or overlooking, and I could really be more focused now.
Yeah, there's often this disconnect for the business owner between what they want to be doing in their business and where they maybe love to serve, but then, just patriarchal standards and society and things like that just teaches us different language, different behaviors, and they don't know it. We don't know it, but we may be saying something or, acting a certain way that really turns that target audience away. So that is a challenge.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that resource being there.
Yeah. Well, and this is information and skills that they don't get inside their organizations. They get product, they get process, they get procedure, they get application filling out, things like that. They don't get the soft skills, the who's in front of me and what's important to know about this person as an individual and how can I help them with their desired goals and needs. So it really teaches you how to zero in and focus. And women, you can't paint them with a broad brush. There are so many segments that we really hone in on and learn about.
After, let's see, Purse Strings started in 2015, it looks like. And then I'm not sure when this course became available, or I'm calling it a course, but program. I'm sure you have some information on, what has changed in these businesses as far as like, if you complete this course, not a promise, everyone, but, just some guidelines of like how it can really change and improve your business, client acquisition, attraction, all of that.
Yeah, there's so many ahas that they get because we're really focusing on some more empathetic skills, some soft skills. We're focusing in on, being patient with your client. So often the industry wants you to close, right? Meet your target. And women, although they might take a lot longer to close a sale, women refer 26 times more over your relationship with them than men do. Men, I think it's 11 is the study. I just looked this up this morning. And the reason for that is if you really do well by your women clients, they are your referral engine. It's a longer tail to get them on board. It's more about being patient and really being a good listener to what they want to need, providing what they want to need. And if you do that, they will sell your services for you.
Yeah. I truly have experienced this, and you brought it to my attention as you were sharing. There are, let's just say, 3 financial advisors in a bucket. I worked with all of them about the same period of time, of length, right? To launch their show, get it going, produce beautiful online content, video, all of that. And the men, they're definitely a wonderful client. I still to this day call them some of my best clients. They will comment back, they'll interact online on posts and things, but the referral engine is just really not there, like you're saying. However, the woman, to this day, she talks about how patient I was with her, how I was guiding rather than like demanding, just some of the language that she uses always like, oh, wow, thanks for saying that, just kind of catches me off guard. I don't expect it. But she has referred, at least 5 people my way. Just like like what you said, like that's my experience. And I'm not a financial provider, but even just as a service provider in this space. And the other interesting piece that I think maybe some folks will identify with is that, as I look at my brand, there's cursive writing, there's purple, there's teal, kind of, I'm not going to say it's a feminine looking brand, but it's definitely not a masculine looking brand. So I would think I would be attracting more women clients. However, the majority of my clients tend to be men. And I've attributed that to literally in the podcast space, there are 50% more men podcasting than women. The statistics are there of like why I have more men clients. But so you've got me thinking anyways, just reflecting on my own brand. So maybe if some of you listening are thinking about, well, yeah, like my intention is to serve women, this could really be some helpful information in your course that you have.
Oh, yeah. And we do look at branding, and we do look at the words that they use. It's so important. The words that they use on their website. Does your website say to a woman, you're the person that serves them? Because if it's the blue misty mountains, that's not calling in women.
Hey there. Take a quick break with me. Maybe you need a script to feel more comfortable, but you also don't want it to be obvious you're using a script because nobody wants to be mistaken for AI these days. My free script starter kit helps you turn client questions into useful topics, organize your ideas into a clear outline, and rehearse important lines from your tagline to your call to action until they feel natural. Plus, get tips on using inflection, facial expressions, and more to make your delivery look and feel natural to you and to your viewer or listener. There's no better time to launch a video podcast, so download my free script starter kit today. And now, back to the episode.
Okay, let's shift a little bit. I want to hear about your podcast.
We have a podcast called Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about. And it was named purposely to get attention, not only that, but to really say we are unpacking so much content that women were told never, ever to talk about. And it's gotten us into some trouble. Not the name of the podcast, but the fact that women have not, been able to really share their thoughts and feelings around money, talk about what they earn, talk about what they'd like to earn, negotiate for their money, talk with money with their spouse or their partner. It's really caused a lot of angst and shame around it. And, we say that all stops with purse strings. We're just going to talk about it, And we talk about money mindset, we talk about savings and paying down debt, but we also talk about what does it cost to live as a woman today? Because it's very expensive just to be a woman today. So we talk a lot about what impacts women and their finances. Any financial professional should be listening to this because it gives so much information about the woman who's sitting across the table from you.
And of course, like the obvious stuff that I see in podcasting, getting on video, there's so much self-consciousness around the way you look, how much you weigh, whether your makeup's done, how your hair is, like all this stuff. And so there are barriers for women, whether we think about them or see them or not. And I do think that's why a lot of women don't get on video. It's just all of these self-conscious, how I look, what are they going to think, kind of that judgment of, somebody's going to comment on my channel and call me fat or like what, people are sour sometimes. And there's a real fear there around that. Even with my daughter, she's young and I'll point out things to her in the store. Just the stupid example of like razors, right? The pink razors are more expensive than the black or blue, whatever. And she's like, that's so dumb. And it makes her mad. I'm like, well, buy the black one. It's just... And I'm trying to point out these things, like these things are marketed to you as a woman on purpose. They don't run ads for, the coolest new color of whatever product for men. It's only targeted towards women. So what else have you seen? I mean, that's just a dumb example that I think everybody has noticed and it's been widely talked about. But what else have you seen maybe in the financial space that's like, there's a huge gap here?
Well, what you were talking about is the pink tax. And that's just one small example of something that is huge and very covert. But yes, they do charge women more for products and services, haircuts, salon treatments, all of that than they do men. That's another thing we talk about because I want financial professionals to know the expense of living as a woman. And that's part of it. A lot of products I see being sold are very generic. Now, it's interesting because there are different gaps that women have in their life that I wish, if you're a product person, you should be, tuning in because there are gaps in women's lives where they leave the workforce, things like that. And, look at where women struggle with their money and think of products to fill that gap. And I'll give you one case in point. There's a new insurance out there that helps women if they have IVF. So you can buy the policy in your early 20s, and maybe you just buy this policy when you're young and healthy, and maybe you're not going to have children till you're in your 30s, but who knows? Maybe you're going to have an issue with it. And if you do have an issue with it, you have this insurance policy that will help you pay for the costs of IVF.
Wow.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. And that can make such a difference at that point when you're in your 30s, going from, hey, I have a great income, but now we're affording IVF, so we're basically poor.
Exactly. Exactly. And somebody had the forethought to say, this is a woman's issue that's very, very expensive. Mm-hmm. What if we built an insurance policy around it that women would buy when they're young? Mm-hmm. And, that way, and if they don't need it, all the contributions of that are going to another woman who does need it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That is awesome. And so expand a little more on how you decided which topics to kind of come out the gate with on your show. I know it was years ago, but, trying to tread like, all right, how do we attract the right listeners? What topics really matter? We don't want to be generic. We named this on purpose. How did you be strategic about your content?
Yeah, good question, because we want our podcast, like all do, to be really meaty and meaningful to our listeners. And We just talked about what are the things that women are kind of whispering to one another because they're afraid to say it out loud. Like, I have $50,000 in credit card debt and I don't know how to pay it down, right? So we've found women who've been in those situations and then some and have put things in place to pay down their debt. What did they do? How did they do it? How long did it take? What did they have to give up? What did they get in the long run? So it's like women who've been in your shoes and have really overcome that to show you it's possible. Look at where you are at financially and move ahead. So from that one example, we looked at lots of different scenario-based circumstances and found women who were in those circumstances, maybe a terrible divorce, maybe a divorce that lasted 10 years, and how did they get over it? Maybe it was divorce that led them to debt. Maybe it was somebody who got a windfall, and how did they manage it? So it's all the good, the bad, and the ugly, but real people with real life examples.
Yeah. Okay. And so the show is really business to consumer because it's for folks that are wanting to hear this, but then there's value. I don't know, it's B2B too, because your financial professionals who are serving women should be listening as well. So maybe share a little bit about how you tread those two markets, because I could definitely see consumers who are interested in doing better with their money listening to the show. And maybe how often do you get to feature some of the folks that are in your Purse Strings program as recommended providers? Like, if you could just unpack that a little bit.
Right. So we're very cautious about who we bring on because we're not selling financial services on our podcast. What we are doing is we're helping women understand how they can be what we say is financially fearless. Whatever their struggle might be or their concern might be or information that they were lacking. Things like we might bring on an estate planning attorney to speak from her expertise on what it is, why it's needed, what's happened if you don't have it. So when we need someone from that expertise segment, we will bring that on. And also we've brought on people who said, my husband died. I didn't even know if he had a life insurance policy. I didn't know what kind of money he made. I didn't know where to go. I was deer in the headlight. I never even wrote a check, which is some women's experience. And then how do you get out of that? Then we'd bring on maybe an estate planning attorney next and say, these are some of the things simply you could get in place and then have a plan, sleep better at night, right? So it's part education, experience, all of that. But we're not bringing on people to talk about if you should buy an annuity or not. It's not that type of program.
Right. Right. And I think they would have compliance challenges around that as well. So, okay, let's find out more about your tech setup. I mean, we can see your headphones and your microphone. Share a little bit about how you record, how complicated it was. Like, what's the behind the scenes tech that's going on when we listen to your show or even watch you, if there's any video clips or YouTube or anything like that?
Actually, my daughter and I do a lot of the podcasting together. So we do Riverside like you do. And we moved video and audio. So we did that maybe a year and a half ago. We do have a YouTube channel. We do use Buzzsprout, and we do have someone who does the editing for us. We did create, the intro and outro that really focus on, who we are. Like, we have a quote by Gloria Steinem that kicks it off. And we are also doing sponsorship now. On some of our podcasts, you'll see, and on the YouTube, of course, sponsorship in the middle, both audio and video. We also do the shorts. So we have shorts on YouTube, and we have clips that are on our Instagram and Facebook.
All right. Very cool. Okay. Thank you for giving us a view of kind of like what's going on in the background. I love that you and your daughter do this. And with me today, you are at your desk. It looks like in your office or home office. I find that a lot of times when we talk about like, oh, you want to start a show, there's still this deep misconception that like you're attempting to look like a YouTuber, right? So you think you've got to go to this cool studio, that you need like a neon sign behind you. Maybe there's like fake leaves up the wall, or, like picture you're on the couch, and that is just not realistic or reasonable for the typical financial professional. And most of my clients are podcasting at their desk, just like you and I are. We both sound and look great. So, obviously like equipment and lighting and all that stuff can be adjusted and recommended to where you get the correct equipment for your space. Talk to me about any challenges you had with that, or what have you changed over the years? Have you bought different equipment here and there? Did you have a misconception in the beginning when you started? Share a little bit about that with me.
Yeah. Well, when we started 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember, we had this same microphone and headphone actually, which kind of looks, you don't have a headphone on, you probably have earbuds.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I find myself that when I am doing a really good podcast, I want to make sure it's really clear and I hear well. So I want to make sure that I'm sticking with the equipment that I know works well for me. I do have a video camera above my screen here, so it's one that can move with me when I move. Sometimes it gets a mind of its own and goes and moves by itself, which is kind of creepy. But I like it. And yes, in my home office, I did paint the wall behind me in my branded color. So that's the Purse Strings branded color that I got from the paint store, and they named it Purse Strings. And then just put up some simple cabinetry. But I am a firm believer you can simply do this in your home office. I also, when I teach, I talk a lot about, do you do business on Zoom? Because I've seen a lot of people in their Zoom room, and you do need to still come across professionally. Even though you're in your office, it shouldn't be littered with books and papers and things like that. You can see I have some of my credentials behind me, a beautiful plant that's actually live and growing so wonderfully I'm excited about. But it's got to be a reflection of you and a reflection of your brand. I think that's so important.
Okay. I love that you did your brand color behind you. Of course, like I noticed your cabinetry right away. But this is just a great example of, just don't make it more complicated than it has to be, right? If you're in your home office, your microphone is plugged in, you've got your camera in front of you because you do Zoom meetings with clients anyways. I want folks to realize that like when your client logs in Zoom and sees you, that doesn't need to be different than when they would see you on YouTube or on your clips on Instagram or wherever you'd be posting. So, they don't necessarily want to see you in a studio like you're, Miss Fancy Pants or whatever. They want to feel like when they see you on YouTube, they're having a meeting with you. That is what we're going for.
Authenticity.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So now, here we are in 2026. Mm-hmm. The onslaught of AI is slapping us in the face every day.
I love it.
What challenges or interesting new things have come up in the podcast or online media space for your business?
I embrace it. I think it's given us ways to be more efficient and more effective. Case in point, if you have a note taker on your meetings, that's brilliant, right? It gives you everything that you need to know. I know some will even tell you how often you spoke versus your client, which I think is such a great tool because we're always talking about listening more than speaking, the 80-20 rule. And not only that, it's taking your notes, it's giving you the next steps and the to-dos. Wow. I just think you can't miss a trick, right? You know what happened in that meeting. You know what the next steps are. You can do so much with that information, and I embrace that. I think AI is something we need to learn and engage with and not be afraid of because it's not going away. But I think still, when you're working in a service-based industry, it's about, like we just said, authenticity. Who are you? How well do you know your clients? What is important to them? How are you providing what is important to them? You can't replace that with AI. You can't replace those relationships. And that's really what you're offering, your expertise, your ability to navigate life with them from a financial focus and to be their part of their go-to financial team.
And have you used AI to help script anything or write show notes for the show, or like how has it helped you in your podcast process? Or have you experimented with it and then you're like, yeah, no, that's terrible.
That's actually done by our podcasting crew. So they may be doing it, but it's still, you can't take it for, what comes out of it. You have to, first of all, what you put into AI has to be your authentic voice. I know I uploaded our brand document that has all of our branding and our North Star and the verbiage that we use with purse strings and the tone that we use. So if I'm trying to write something from a purse string standpoint, I will write it and I might pop it into AI with my branding document and check it against the tone and the verbiage and making sure that it's really truly coming through. And it's just not a generic AI generated whatever.
Yeah. Good advice there. I really like that. And let's talk a little bit about, I know you're running ads, so there's like a monetization piece there, but I'm thinking, listeners to the podcast are being attracted to purse strings, whether we're enrolling in the program, whether we're, becoming a certified provider through you, anything like that. So are there any specific calls to action or any language that you've done intentionally, maybe in the intro and outro, to pull listeners over to like wherever you want them to go? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. In our outro, we definitely have a call to action for financial professionals who want to either be a Purse Strings approved professional or want to learn about our workshop and becoming a Purse Strings approved professional. That's part of our outro in every single episode. And then when we end the episode, we always ask people to give us a rating, give us a 5-star rating. Those are very important. They're hard to get sometimes. I don't know if the process is awkward for people or they just listen and forget and move on to the next thing. But I always say, if you want to support a business and you don't want to spend a lot of money, give them a great review on Google or on their podcast. It goes a long way.
And when you think about the strategy for the podcast as it is intended to support purse strings, what comes to mind there? Because we talked topics, we talked guests, equipment, call to action. What else comes to mind?
Well, the major mission of our podcast is really to engage women at any point in their financial, trajectory in life. So we're really hitting lots of different topics that impact women, either coming out of college, going through divorce, maybe empty nesters, those who want to travel the world, women in their mid-30s who want to take a sabbatical or travel and not wait till they're 65, lots of different opportunities to get to women and let them know that Purse Strings is a go-to resource for them, built by women, for women, to live a life that's financially fearless. So at their fingertips, they get the tools, resources, and access to those financial professionals who have them and their goals and desires top of mind.
And before you go, of course, I want everyone to be able to find your show, find Purse Strings.
So our website is pursestrings.co. It's not .com. The .com was $85,000 when we first started.
Nope.
I don't think so. So it's just .co, which is fine. On there, you can find access right to our directory, right on the front page. Also on the front page, access to some of the top financial tools women always look for. There's a lot there. You can access our podcast, of course, on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get podcasting. And that's Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about.
I love it. Okay, Dr. Barb, thank you so much for sharing this amazing resource that you've built. Congratulations. I think it's an amazing vision, and I'm so thankful that you pursued that vision and that it's been out there now for several years and accessible to us. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was a delight.
Thank you for listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals today. Before your next recording, decide what you want your audience to understand, remember, and most importantly, how they should take action. The Script Starter Kit PDF, available for download for free, helps you put those things together with your topic using a simple time-saving process and ensures your message feels clear to your listeners and viewers. Even if you don't plan on scripting your whole episode, there are sections you don't want to stumble through. So get your Script Starter Kit right now at podcastabundance.com/script starter kit.